Hello and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is presented by Asher Agency, your all-in-one marketing partner, serving clients across the nation. For further details, check out asheragency.com.
My guest is Ben Reynolds. Ben, thanks for doing this.
Sure.
Well, we're going to talk about you and your career path and the wonderful work you do here at Asher Agency.
Great.
And I want to start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Because you went to school, LinkedIn tells me you went to school in North Carolina. I think I knew that.
South Carolina.
I have my Carolinas wrong right off the bat.
Or LinkedIn's wrong. I don't know what's going on there.
It could be. Did you grow up in such a place?
I did. I kind of hopscotched all over the Southeast.
Okay.
While my dad did med school stuff.
Okay.
He got in a little bit later than most people. You know, most people do that right out of college. He started a family first and then was like, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm smarter than what I'm doing. So he pursued med school. So I grew up with him going off to med school every day. And he got accepted. We were living in South Carolina.
Yeah.
He got accepted in Florida.
Okay.
So he first was taking classes down there.
Yeah.
And was like, this isn't working out. I miss my family. So we all moved down there with him. And then the next few years were just, he graduated. We moved somewhere else while he did residency. And then we moved somewhere else while he worked in the ER. I don't remember what all the phases.
Yeah. But the path you would expect someone in medical school with a family to have to take.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know nothing of the Midwest at this point in your young life.
Correct.
So what were you thinking career-wise? What was young Ben thinking? Here's what I'm going to do with my life.
Oh, boy. Young Ben, it's just everything of I'll do what my dad did. I'll be a doctor. Oh, I'll be a firefighter. I mean, I wasn't one of those. I see celebrities say, I went and saw this movie and I knew at that moment at 6 years old, I had no such inspiration.
Yeah, and you're in good company there. I have a caricature of myself when I was 6, and I think the artist said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for some reason I said a boxer. So somewhere there's a caricature of me, like the old, whatever it is, Jack Johnson style. Yeah. So you didn't know either. But when you were getting to the point where you were having to decide what a career was going to be, what were you thinking at that point?
Well, I knew that based on my dad coming home and having conversations at the dinner table, not naming names because he's a good doctor, knows you're not supposed to do that. But he would describe procedures and that kind of stuff. And I have a sister who's now a vet, and she had the utmost attention for these stories. And I'm like, I'm trying to eat, Dad.
So process of elimination told you probably not
a
medical.
Doctor.
Yeah. Was there any parental pressure for you to go into the physician field?
No, not really.
Well, good.
Just my dad's very pragmatic, so it's just make sure you do something that makes money.
Yeah. All right.
So,
that's why you're here at Asher Agency.
Yeah, making the big bucks. Look out.
All right, so your process of elimination, you know what you don't want to do.
Right.
And then you go to school in South Carolina.
Yes.
So what did you study?
I started out, because of this process of elimination and my dad kind of encouraging me, do something that makes money.
Yeah.
And I had already heard that lawyers were very unhappy from law students.
Yeah.
So before if you have any lawyer friends that listen to this podcast, law students told me this is miserable.
Yeah.
So didn't want to do that. So I pursued engineering, and that was very difficult.
Yeah.
So I switched to let me try this branch of engineering. Oh, that's harder. Okay, let me try this branch. Finally got into computer engineering.
Okay.
And still way more complex math than I was expecting.
Yeah.
The major roadblock for me was you get to these advanced calculus classes, and they're like, oh, solve this equation. By the way, the answer is a different equation. And that math feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Well, and being an English major, the minute you said equation, my brain went away. It just went away. Yeah.
Yep. I got involved with a campus hobby. University of South Carolina has a radio station called WUSC.
All right.
And I still tune in whenever I'm in town. And I saw a flyer, or not social media, because there was just
such a thing.
Early
didn't quite
MySpace
exist.
back in that day, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably saw a flyer that said, "Hey, DJ interest meeting."
Huh.
I thought that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So to cut that part a little shorter, I got in and was doing a radio show, campus radio show.
Yep.
And must have been doing something right, because I started having callers to the station while I was on the air, and they would say, "Hey, sometimes they would say, 'What did you just play?' More often they would say, 'Hey, last week on your show, you played this song.
Huh.
Who was that?' And we were just writing everything down on paper.
Yeah.
So that information was gone to the station director. I don't remember what it was. So I got like a bug to start to try to put together a website, because if I'm remembering correctly, MySpace wasn't a thing yet. Mm-hmm. And
so this is pure HTML.
This is pure HTML, and me Googling like, how do I do website? And, that.
Yeah, I remember those days. Believe it or not, this may shock you, but I was the volunteer webmaster for the Fort Wayne Track Club and had the big book of HTML.
Nice.
And that lasted about 10 months, and I was like, I'm no good at any of this. So you're doing that's your first web project.
That's my first web project.
And you must have enjoyed it, at least somewhat.
Yeah, it was neat. It was a lot of like, grab this chunk of code, throw it in here.
And not a lot of math.
Not a lot of math, yeah.
Yeah.
And, ugly Frankenstein code as I was just copying and pasting and hoping for the best. And I kind of kept with that. I kept with radio because that was fun. I had a couple of gigs doing like
and you
radio
have
shows.
You have a little bit of a performance bent.
A little bit.
You don't
might say
mind
that.
being on stage. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got that. And that's one of the things that is unique, I think, is you are not the typical web developer introvert. I'm going to sit in the dark and I don't want to talk to people. Is that fair?
I mean, to everything there is a season. My wife coined it. I don't know if this is a term that's out there or if my wife coined it, but after Christmas, we had a big family Christmas with my side of the family this past year.
Yeah.
So next day they were like, "Where's Ben?" And my wife said, "I think he has an introvert hangover."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like I got no problems with big hangouts, big gatherings, but man, my energy is sapped.
So you charge your battery alone.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you persist in the computer engineering degree?
I did not get all the way to the degree.
Yeah.
I was just so miserable. Yeah. And
like your law school, like you would have been if you'd gone to law school.
Yes, yeah. And I don't think I had anybody. It was so long and drawn out.
Yeah.
I wish I had somebody who had said, like, if you're not happy, it's okay to do something else.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you would think that's common sense.
You would think so.
But it really isn't.
It's really not. Yeah.
We were just talking to one of the previous guests, Savannah. We were talking about how she made the decision. She was in a job, she didn't like it, and she changed jobs. And I said, that's great because not everyone does that. And they will persist because they don't think they have the option.
Yes.
So you didn't know you had the option.
Right.
To change.
Yeah, it's weird. That happens, like jobs, relationships. It's weird.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast.
That's the one you could interview me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Where were we?
we were young Ben was doing his first website for the radio station.
Yes. So eventually, I went to my career advisor, or whatever the proper term was in college, and essentially said, "I hate this. Here are my credits. What's something else I could do?"
Yeah.
And I guess like web development came up in conversation. And yeah, I must have mentioned like I'm doing this in my free time.
Yeah.
Is there a degree track that this makes sense with? And they said, well, we don't have anything that's specifically that. Mm-hmm. So that's why my degree is media arts.
Yeah.
Because they kind of took all this, there was like digital photography classes, a script writing class, a lighting class. And and here's an HTML, CSS coding class. And
and at that time, I mean, higher education, there are many exceptions to this, but most higher education is a little bit behind the times.
Yes.
And, this is early web. So it's not like we're going to build an entire curriculum for people who are going to do just this.
Right.
Yeah. So you graduate with a degree in media arts. Mm-hmm. And do you immediately start working in web development, or do you do something different to begin?
Well, for what I feel is the first time in my life, I did something smart while I was a student. I got in on the internships. And back then it was cool if they were unpaid. So lots of lots of unpaid internships.
We call that child labor now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, look up the address of whatever web agency or whatever marketing agency also did web, and hand them a resume.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking for work, and they were pretty receptive. So I had a couple of internships doing that.
Yeah.
And then when I was a senior, senior, whatever level senior I was at that point, that counted as like a course credit.
Okay.
So I got that knocked off.
So in effect, you got paid.
Yes.
Yeah, in effect.
In effect. So that proved way more insightful and advantageous than anything I learned in a class.
Oh, sure. Well, and at that time, you were learning by doing anyway.
Right.
So, okay, so how do you, remind me, because I think you and I have had this conversation before, how do you end up in Northeast Indiana?
So, it being the advent of the internet and people were already posting jobs online.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool. I can apply.
And probably web jobs at the forefront of that,
yes,
given that it was the web.
So, yeah. So I was like, this is cool. I can apply anywhere. Like I wasn't, I didn't have a relationship going on at the time.
Yeah.
About to graduate from college finally.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I sent out a bunch of resumes and waited for anybody to call me back. And I did several phone interviews. So my life could have turned out very differently. I remember I interviewed with some outfit out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Thought I did very poorly. And then after I initially accepted the job I ended up with in Fort Wayne, Chattanooga called me back and was like, hey, we liked you. We want you to. So
and you're saying,
yeah.
and you're skeptical because if they would hire me based on that interview.
I interviewed a place in Texas, and this is probably to my benefit. One of my interviews was with Sears in Chicago. And that didn't go well, but I think that worked out for me.
Well, it's always, there was a near leap that I made early in my time in Indiana where a major regional newspaper, I finished bridesmaid to someone who got the job and was crushed at the time. And in retrospect, I'm like, maybe that was good for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So when did that happen? Was that fairly shortly after you got your diploma?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what were your first impressions of Northeast Indiana?
Well, I moved up here in February, which is when we're recording this. So, just
from South Carolina.
Yes.
And all you've ever known is the Southeast.
I was just like, you've heard of. I'm going to forget the term now, but immersion, like hardcore immersion.
Yeah.
You want to see the worst it's going to be.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Indiana in February.
Yeah. And this is how long ago?
What was this? 2010.
Okay.
Wow.
So and that was Fort Wayne was a different place.
It was. Yeah.
2010,
I remember staying in my hotel room, and I think that it's not a hotel anymore. But I remember looking out of the building and just wow, it's so snowy and not a lot of movement out there. But I guess that's what the winter's like around here.
It's gray, brown, and quiet.
Yes. So I will say, to Fort Wayne's credit, there is a lot more to do downtown than there was.
Oh yeah, well,
in 2010.
Well, I've been at Asher now 20 plus years, and literally when I started working in this office, if you want to go to lunch, it was Double Dragon, Loaf and Ladle. I believe that Dash In was a choice. Mm-hmm. Cindy's Diner was a choice.
Right.
There was the fancy place in One Summit Square, and that was like it. It was it.
Yeah.
And now, you could go to a different restaurant every day and, not hit the same one in months.
Yeah.
So did a lot of people, coming from a warm place, when you told people that you had moved to Fort Wayne, did a lot of people say why?
For about the first 5 years that I lived here, yes.
Because that was my experience. They're like, where are you from? Massachusetts. Why are you here?
Because I do what I want.
Yeah. So, but it must have worked out, because here you are 15 years later.
That's right. I stuck around.
And is your wife from Northeast Indiana?
Technically, she was born in Illinois, but for her memories only go far enough back to living in Fort Wayne.
Okay, so she's here.
She's here, yeah.
And so you're going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have been in the web development world for that entire time, for 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I have.
I'm going to ask a couple questions. The first is, how did you end up at Asher? What was the spark that made you say this is a place you might want to be?
So this was interesting. We could probably come back to improv stuff later to go more in depth.
Okay.
I got involved in improv comedy here at Fort Wayne. One of my fellow troupe members was employed here at the time. Jeannie, yes.
Yep.
And I think I was expressing some frustrations about my job at the time.
Because at that time, sorry to interrupt, Asher's web team was Brandon Pete.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
So, Jeannie said, so my job is hiring for like an art director, I think. And I was like, that's not what I do.
The media arts degree.
Yes. But any port in a storm.
Yeah.
So sent my resume along. Surprisingly got a call back with 0 art director type gigs on my resume.
Yeah.
And interviewed with Brandon Pete.
Yep.
And I think Brandon Wolf at the time.
Yep.
And so they spend like the first hour of the interview talking about what Asher does and this and that. And they said, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
I was like, yes. What are you hiring for?
What job would I do?
Why do you want me?
Yeah.
We're taking a quick break to talk about something that can truly impact your business: the power of public relations with Asher Agency. Imagine having a team of skilled communicators working tirelessly to shape your public image, build relationships with key stakeholders, and position your brand as a leader in your industry. That's exactly what Asher offers. Asher knows how to get your message heard by the right people at the right time. Visit AsherAgency.com for more info.
So you've been here now 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
And the team has now grown to 5.
Yes.
So have you, as a result of that, become more specialized, or is the job kind of similar to what you were originally doing?
In a way, more specialized, but I'm still kind of jack of all trades for just for maybe a smaller pie slice. Because the team members we added on, they kind of have different specialties, which is good for Brandon and good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nice to have newer people on the team too, because I think Brandon told me this, and I think he got it from you. do the work that only you can do.
And I got that from Edgar Dijkstra, which is do only what only you can do.
There you go.
Yes.
That's more eloquent.
And anyone who's worked with me knows that I do very little. So that's my way of being lazy is through delegation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been a helpful mantra for me, and making me feel less guilty about like, just pushing this busy work on to other people. But
yeah, well, and it's something that, I mean, I very genuinely believe as you get more seasoned, and I'll call it a borderline responsibility to double down at what you're good at and understand all the areas where you're not as good, right? And it's not always true that you have the luxury of delegating or collaborating with other people, but it's one of the things I like about working at Asher is I have literally like 3 skills, and that's it. And I'm terrible at everything else, so I have to be really careful about where I spend my time. Because it's like if I'm going to provide value, I gotta focus on the things I do well and delegate to the people who are much better at those things than I am. Has that changed for you over time as you've gotten more seasoned? You're a little more comfortable with that?
I would say so, yeah. And it's helpful for new hires because they get to like chip away at something, sink their teeth into something, and to keep using that metaphor, you can't eat a steak before you've ever eaten solid food in your life.
So let's go back to improv for a second. Is that something you're still involved in? And
yes, it is.
I've seen you in action at least once or twice, and I'll say very genuinely, you do it well.
Oh, thank you.
It's an amateur group, and this is no disrespect to the other folks who I've seen alongside you, but you bring kind of you're serious about it. like you can tell Ben's having fun, but he wants to be the best at having fun. Do you think there's some truth in that?
Yeah. So things I enjoy doing, I want to do them well.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of pursuit of, web development was a hobby at first.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying I want to be better at this. And this is a hobby too. And I don't know, if it's something you love, you should try and be better at it, I think.
So how did you find it or it find you?
Well, I think it was either like a Facebook invite or like a meetup.com type invite. Hey, we're getting together to try some improv games.
Yeah. Did you have any prior experience?
No.
Yeah.
Just
interesting.
goofing around.
In radio, probably there's a little bit of improvisation that has to happen when you're on air. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I read the song wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a 2-minute song. I thought I had 4 minutes. I only have 2 minutes. So I got to run my mouth while I select another CD to put in to date myself.
Yeah. So there are 20-somethings out there who said, what was that sentence? So explain to me what is attractive to you about improv, because it's comedy, but it's a different kind of comedy.
Yes,
I know people who really are into stand-up and they do it well, but that doesn't necessarily translate, and vice versa. So how do you differentiate that, and why does it work for you?
Yeah, improv is this kind of weird monster that helps you with all these other life skills. And I'm sorry I sound like I'm about to sell herbal supplement or some garbage like that, but I don't want your money.
Have you tried mushroom coffee? Yeah.
I don't want your money yet unless you want to come see me do improv. And no, but if it's weird because if you knew somebody who was like just terrified of public speaking, I would be hesitant to say to that person, you should try stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But improv by nature is like collaborative, and it's weird how by creating a safe space for people to try things and kind of gently get out of your comfort zone, different things are possible. Like, yes, we use it for comedy, but there are improv courses out there that specialize in like improv for public speaking, improv for meeting new people. So yeah, the impetus for improv is I'm given a situation, I have to accept it and work within the confines of the situation I've been given.
Yeah. There's kind of a weird Zen thing to it. You know, the whole mantra of yes and, right? It's kind of like you can't say, no, I'm not going to do that, or how about this instead? Do you feel like that helps you at work collaborate in a different or better way, or does that not transfer?
It's very helpful for client work, especially. Because often we will get started on a web project.
Yep.
And, okay, we've gone as far as we can go. We're at a stopping point. We need feedback from the client.
Yeah.
And weeks will go by with no feedback. Okay, well, I've moved on to other things. That's on my back burner. I don't even remember what that project was.
Yeah.
And then next day, client's back. They've got us the stuff we need. They say the due date has not changed. So we need to get on this
Think
now.
on your feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's helpful in those situations. Also been in situations where, so-and-so is supposed to be on this client call or in this meeting. They're sick. Can you step in and talk about what they were going to talk about? So helpful in that.
Well, I would imagine there's a pretty strong intersection between improv and parenting as well.
Yes. Yes. I wish a 6-year-old girl was better at yes and.
Yeah.
Quite frequently it's like, no, daddy, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, and it is.
But it does help, yes.
It is. It's a lesson in humility. One of the stories I like to tell about my 10-year-old stepdaughter is there was a shirt that I purchased last summer, and I was kind of like, I think I'm too old for this shirt, but I'm going to try. I'm going to push my boundaries. And then I was giving myself a pep talk, and I was like, hell no, I'm not too old for this shirt. I can wear this shirt. I'm a grown man. So I go up into the bedroom, and I put the shirt on. And I come downstairs, and Natalie is sitting at the kitchen counter, and she's got her chin in her hand. And I walk down feigning confidence, and she just says to me, "What's with the shirt?" That was not a yes and moment.
No.
That was a moment when I turned around, I went upstairs, and I changed.
Parenthood is like stand up, I think, is better for parenthood because you get it's like heckling all the time. That's all you get.
Yeah, and that proved to me that I would just fold and just run away from the situation. All right, well, let's pivot. Speaking of pivoting, let's pivot to a few quick hit questions. You have had a long career in an industry that has changed a lot. So you've likely learned some things along the way. What do you think is the best advice you have to give when it comes to building a fulfilling and successful career?
Don't get locked into the mentality of, well, we've always done it this way. In web development especially, what I learned in college, a lot of it, 90% of it is not relevant anymore. I imagine sales and marketing is true. You know, your approach 15 years ago is not going to do it today. JavaScript, not so much going to help you out in 2025. I mean, there are people who would argue otherwise.
Second quick hit question. What is a myth or misconception about your work that you think needs to be debunked? And this could be something about Asher. It could be something about working in web development. It could be something else entirely.
This is one that since the dawn of web development, I think this has been a thing. There's just people will see the price tag and kind of balk at it and go, well, like my nephew makes websites, he'll do it for $50.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy your $50 website. That looks like you spent $50 on it.
Yeah. Has that become more or less true over time? Or is there any pattern to it?
It has made the web team, I think, better at selling ourselves. Because there are services, Squarespace and those kind of things. clients will say like, well, if I can pay whatever the low price point is for Squarespace, why do I need your services, which are frankly more expensive than Squarespace?
Well, because it's not always going to be a square.
Exactly. Yes, there's a lot of round holes on the internet. Square's not going to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But that's enabled us to up our game and say, here's what we're bringing to the table. Your problem that you're having with your Squarespace site, you submit a ticket, it goes into a system. Who knows how many other tickets are in that system?
Yeah.
There's only 5 of us. We'll probably get to your issue sooner.
Yeah.
We can make recommendations rather than just, hammer on what you told us to hammer on.
Well, and it seems like the risks have gotten a lot more serious. I mean, back in the days when I was doing very, very, very amateur HTML, I wasn't really worried about, maybe I should have been, but I wasn't worried about cybersecurity. I wasn't worried about accessibility. And those are things now that can get you in a lot of trouble if you don't get them right.
Yes.
And I think the value you and the rest of the web team bring is you've kind of taken care of that for clients. It's like you don't have to worry about it because we're going to worry about it. And a lot of the effort we're going to put in is going to make it seem like it's easy when in fact it's 15 years in the making to get there.
In a way, web development is kind of similar to IT. If everything is going fine, sometimes the higher ups can be like, well, what are we paying you for? Nothing's going wrong.
You're paying me for everything being fine.
Exactly. And then something catastrophic happens. Everybody's on IT like, what are we paying you for? You let this happen. Everybody's on the web team. Hey, you let the site's down. You let this happen. So, yeah.
So a lot of existential crises happening along the way.
We just push those feelings down. That's all.
That's where the improv comes in.
That's right.
All right, last quick hit question. And this can be specific to web development. It can have nothing to do with web development. All of that is immaterial. But what is a tool you use as part of your work that you believe deserves a shout out? Now, this can be very analog. Okay. Kirsten, our last guest, mentioned lists on paper. Savannah, who was 2 guests ago, said Social Pilot, which is a social media dashboard. So it can be analog, it can be digital, it can be somewhere in between.
I will say medium doesn't necessarily matter, but what has helped me, and I've only started doing this hardcore like recently, checklists.
Yeah.
Because we use Trello here at Asher for project management and that kind of thing, but that's kind of looking at the whole forest.
Yeah.
And if you just need to focus on your weekly tasks, that's a little bit much. So I have coworkers who just like get a notepad, write down their tasks.
Yeah.
I just use the Notes app on Mac. You can enable a checklist feature on it. So check that off. And
are you using that as a to-do list? Are you using it for processes? Are you using it for quality assurance? Are you using it for all those things?
Mainly processes, if I'm understanding it the way you're meaning it.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason I asked that question is I think using it for processes is underappreciated, especially when there's the risk of getting so complacent. I do this all the time. I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
I do a decent amount of like public speaking, right? And I have a checklist. It's very short. It's make sure you plugged in the power cable. Make sure you've turned off, if you don't have videos, make sure sound is off on your computer. And what happens cyclically is I'll follow the checklist for 6 months and I'll think like, I got this, I don't need to do it. And then I won't. And then I will forget one of the steps, even though it's something I do 25 times a year.
Right.
So are you using it in a similar way? Is it more for nuanced, complex stuff?
A little of both, I guess. I just kind of take my big projects for the week, break them down into smaller tasks, and each smaller task gets like a checklist item.
Yeah.
So that, I did the thing. Did I also email so-and-so about the thing?
Yeah.
Got to check that off too.
Yeah.
Or it'll
Well, I think I think that's a great distinction with Trello, because what I find is I'm a big Trello fan, but Trello's for collaboration.
Yes.
Then you still have to manage your own stuff. Right? I use Todoist in a very similar way, but Trello doesn't, it's not the self-management tool, it's kind of the team management tool.
Right.
And there's a little bit of overlap, but if I didn't have the checklist of here's what I'm responsible for, all of it would go off the rails. And it sometimes does even when I use the checklist. So, yeah.
It's not a 100% success rate, but it does mitigate.
It mitigates 100% of failure.
Yes. Yeah,
or makes it less likely you'll be 100% of
right.
failure.
And then there's improv for the rest.
Well, Ben, thanks. I appreciate you doing this. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's been great to hear more of your story, the winding road from the Southeast United States to the Midwest. And thanks to everybody who took the opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.
And now, we'd love to hear from you. Is there a question you wish we had covered? Please let us know. You can reach out to us at hello@asheragency.com. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps others discover us as well. For more resources and updates, visit our website at asheragency.com. Thanks for listening.